And at number 10, Demi Moore. Demi Moore's career was taking off and she was on her way to becoming a well-respected actress, but that all changed when the film G.I. Jane was released and put her promising career on hold. She was even awarded a parody award for the worst actress for her role in that film. But Demi doesn't actually see it that way, and she revealed that G.I. Jane is one of her favorite movies, and she feels that it's very underrated. Demi said in one interview, quote, "It was that kind of criticism that really sent me to a space where I lost a little bit of passion and that maybe disheartened me." One of the studio execs even shared how much the film hurt her marketability in Hollywood, saying, quote, "People just don't want to see her. We would have to drag them kicking and screaming to see this movie." And at number 9, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's career got a second wind when he landed the show 2.5 Men, and it became a smash hit. He had been known for his partying and wild ways that all played out in the media during his divorce with Denise Richards, but everyone seemed to forget about his questionable past when 2.5 Men started. But after some time being on top again, his career tanked once again because of substance. After the show's creator Chuck Lorre was growing tired of Charlie's substance issues, he decided to fire him. Sheen then had a meltdown where he screamed profanities at Lorre, including anti-Semitic remarks, which cemented Lorre's decision. Ashton Kutcher then replaced him, and after a few episodes, no one really cared that Charlie was gone. And at number 8, Thomas Gibson. Thomas Gibson was best known from Criminal Minds, and his career was really taking off. Until 2016 when he got into a fight with one of the show's co-executive producers and ended up kicking him. Gibson was temporarily suspended so the show could do an investigation, but after the investigation they realized it was the tip of the iceberg. His behavior on set was unacceptable, so he was prematurely kicked off the show. The official statement read, quote, "Thomas Gibson has been dismissed from Criminal Minds. Creative details for how the character's exit will be addressed in the show will be announced at a later date." Apparently the kick was the third strike after another on-set outburst, as well as a DUI, and his reputation never recovered. And at number 7, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was a household name until his daughter leaked an embarrassing tape of his, and the public never looked at him the same way since. In 2006, his daughter posted a video of Hasselhoff eating off the floor in a drunken stupor. And this was not the beginning of his misuse of drugs and alcohol, and his substance issues caused him to not only lose his career, but his family as well, unfortunately. After all the scandal surrounding Hasselhoff's name, Hollywood nor the public wanted to be associated with him, and his reputation tanked. He got sober in 2009 and tried to come back into the spotlight, but the damage was already done. And at number 6, Mark Salling. Mark Salling rose to fame on the hit show Glee, but his career and public opinion of him tanked in 2016 when it was revealed that he possessed illegal images featuring minors. After he was charged with various crimes related to this, he was promptly cut from the miniseries Adi Shankaraj's Gods and Secrets. The director revealed this on his Facebook page, writing, quote, "He has been cut from the miniseries. I will personally be paying for the reshoots, and I hope that Mark finds inner peace." After this was exposed, even more allegations of crimes came to light, and everyone was cutting ties with him. Salling pled guilty to the charges but took his own life before he was sentenced. Halfway at number 5, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was best known for his role in Empire at the time of his scandal, although he wasn't a household name. But his fame exploded to new heights when he alleged that 2 white men who were wearing MAGA hats attacked him, shouting racist and homophobic slurs. The whole world supported him and he became somewhat of a figurehead against racial hate, until it was revealed that it was all a lie, and he actually paid 2 men to attack him. After it was revealed that he faked everything, the city of Chicago sued him for filing a fake police report, as well as the cost of investigating the attack, for over $130,000. On February 11th of 2020, Smollett was indicted again by a Cook County grand jury on 6 counts pertaining to making 4 false police reports, and he was of course blacklisted from the industry. And at number 4, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway was set to become Hollywood royalty with movies like Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown under her belt. But it seemed that her head got too big for her cast and crew, and she quickly developed a reputation for being difficult, which is never a label you want to get in the industry before you're a bona fide A-list star. Then to make things worse, Bette Davis came out against her on Johnny Carson. When Carson asked who was the worst person in Hollywood, she replied, quote, "Faye Dunaway, and everybody you can put in this chair would tell you exactly the same thing." When asked to elaborate, she added, quote, "I don't think we have the time to go into all the reasons, she's just uncooperative." After this, her career was over. And at number 3, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner made a name for himself as the lovable hunk in the Twilight series, and he was cast in a number of other movies at the time because of his star power. but there were fears that he was asking for way more money than he was worth, and when the big paychecks Hollywood paid him didn't result in box office success, he was quickly blacklisted. To make matters worse, he starred in a movie called Abduction that was rated so poorly that Lochte ended up leaving Hollywood after. And at number 2, Alex Pettyfer. Alex Pettyfer rose to fame as the hunk in the movie I Am Number 4 and Beastly, but since he rose to fame so fast, his arrogance got the best of him and he was branded difficult and disrespectful. An unnamed source who worked with Pettyfer on the set of I Am Number 4 told the publication, quote, "He was a nightmare and irrational. He had no body of work to remotely justify his behavior." But that's not all. He also did a horrible interview in 2011 where he basically offended all of Hollywood. In the interview, he basically trashed LA, calling it a shithole, and saying that the people that live there are all "see you next Tuesdays." Yeah, I can't say that word. Pettyfer did not reprise his central role in the 2015 Magic Mike sequel, Magic Mike XXL, and his work since is minimal. And finally, at number 1, Tom Cruise. Of course, Tom Cruise's career will never be fully ruined because he will always be considered an A-list actor. But over the years, he's made some serious dents in his reputation. The worst might be Cruise's interview with Matt Lauer, where his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression. Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with it, and when asked why, Cruise added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank. And at number 10, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was a rising star in Hollywood. She was on the hit show Grey's Anatomy, along with getting cast in tons of rom-coms like Knocked Up. But her career went downhill fast after 2 terrible interviews where she offended the very people that were getting her recognition in Hollywood. In one, she revealed she didn't think she deserved an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy because she didn't like her storyline. In another interview, she said the film Knocked Up was, quote, "kind of sexist." These comments got her labeled as difficult and ungrateful. Recently, she's come back into the industry and managed to land some roles, but she's still desperately trying to get back in people's good graces. And at number 9, Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash was beloved in her role in the classic film Clueless, but after years as an actress, she got increasingly political and it completely derailed her acting career. She started being vocal on Twitter around 2015, once saying that transgender people should, quote, "pee in the bushes" instead of using public restrooms, and then she said that women that accuse men of taking advantage of them are just, quote, "bad girls." Actress Gabrielle Union even once called her a crazy lady. Her support of conservative politics ended up landing her a spot on Fox News. However, she recently left the network and claimed that they had forced her to be a, quote, "angry black woman," as well as taking back some of her more controversial statements. And at number 8, Elizabeth Berkley. Elizabeth Berkley burst into the spotlight, playing Jessie Spano in Saved by the Bell. But when the series was over, Berkley decided to play older and more mature roles to break out of the teenage character the public had known her for, and she was cast in the movie Showgirls. She thought the movie was going to be a hit, but instead it was an epic failure that got horrible reviews. Berkley took home Razzies for the Worst Actress and Worst New Star award. The film was even nominated for the Worst Picture of the Decade at one point. After this disaster, the industry turned their back on Berkley, and she was no longer considered a leading lady to movie studios. And at number 7, Remy Ma. At one point, Remy Ma was one of only 5 female rappers to ever top the charts, and was incredibly successful. But that all changed after she had some cash stolen out of her purse, and she assumed it was by a lady named Makeda Barnes-Joseph, so Remy decided to shoot her. Apparently, while the ladies were fighting over the purse, Remy's gun went off, and the other woman was shot 2 times. Apparently, while the woman was on the ground bleeding, Remy took the purse and left. She ended up serving 6 years in jail, and when she came out, her career never recovered. And at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner became a hero for LGBTQ people when she came out as trans in 2015, and brought trans issues into the forefront of the conversation. She continued sharing her journey on the show I Am Kate, but her good relationship with the trans community changed in 2016 when she revealed that she was a proud supporter of Ted Cruz and President Trump. Many people in the trans community found her opinions hypocritical, especially considering Ted Cruz is a vocal supporter of controversial anti-trans bathroom bills. Matters were made worse when and Caitlyn did an interview on The Ellen Show and reluctantly revealed that she's okay with gay marriage, even then stating that she's very conservative in those beliefs. I Am Cait was cancelled after 2 seasons, and support for her in the trans community has dwindled. Halfway at number 5, Taylor Kitsch. Actor Taylor Kitsch was primed to become a hockey player, but at the age of 20 he was badly injured and had to find another path in life. This other path became acting, and after he decided that's what he wanted to do, he lived a hard life to make his dreams happen. He was even homeless at some points. He then landed the role as Tim Riggins in Friday Night Lights and quickly developed a loyal fan base. Then in 2012 he got the role of a lifetime, leading the John Carter adaptation. But it was a complete failure and lost the studio $200 million. After a similar failure months later with the movie Battleship, studios no longer wanted to take the risk on him as their leading man, and he stopped getting cast in lead roles. In at number 4, Chris Brown. Chris Brown was one of the hottest rappers in the game in the early 2010s, and after he started dating Rihanna, his fame exploded even further. But that all changed in 2009 when he physically Rihanna, leaving her face bloody and bruised. The domestic violence case led Brown's career to tank, as well as deals getting cancelled and his songs taken off of radio stations. He even had a request for a UK visa revoked because of this incident. His career and public image plummeted, but that was not the first time that he was in trouble with the law. A few years later, while in Times Square, Brown again lost control and threw an object at a window, causing property damage. He's also been involved in plenty of other domestic disputes as well as legal issues. Crazy enough, he still collaborates with tons of other artists, but the public will never forgive him. In at number 3, Oscar Pistorius. Oscar Pistorius became known around the world for participating in the Paralympics. The South African athlete was born missing the outside of both feet and both fibulae. Both of his feet were amputated when he was only 11 months old due to this, but he decided to become a sprinter and was an inspiration to many around the world. But that all changed on Valentine's Day in 2013 when Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. At first he claimed that he mistook her for an intruder and it was all an accident, but as time went on, it was revealed that it was a lie. After he was charged, many sponsors dropped Pistorius, including Nike. In 2016, he was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for murder. And at number 2, John Travolta. John Travolta's career is a bit of a rocky one, but luckily for him he's been in a few legendary movies that have made him a certified A-list actor. He became a household name from his role in Grease, but after that he wasn't a part of anything really notable, until Pulp Fiction changed everything, and he proved he was able to carry an action-packed and mysterious role. But even with the insane success of Pulp Fiction and other movies shortly after, Travolta made a string of bad decisions that moved him to the bottom of the barrel in the acting world. The final nail in the coffin was Battlefield Earth, which was branded one of the worst movies ever made by The Guardian. The movie is so bad it has 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. Since then, Travolta's career has been officially sunk, and he's trying hard to redeem himself. And finally, at number 1, Tom Green. At one point, Tom Green was the hottest thing in comedy, and it was looking like he was the next big thing. He even got his own show on MTV simply called The Tom Green Show. At this point, everyone wanted Green to make a movie for their network, and 20th Century Fox was no exception. With that studio, Green made a movie called Freddie Got a comedy that was a horrific box office disappointment. After that disaster to fans and studios, Green has been unable to recapture the public's interest. Freddie Got has slowly entered cult status over the years, but is still considered a massive disappointment.
Number 10, Mariah Carey. This celebrity feud is legendary, so it's only fair that we start off with this one. J-Lo and Mariah Carey have been at each other's throats since the early 2000s. In fact, most people remember the iconic line that Mariah told a German reporter, "I don't know her." Although it sounds hilarious, Mariah has maintained her negative opinion of J-Lo all these years. For example, an interviewer once asked her what she thought about Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez, and she responded by saying that they don't even belong in the same category for a very specific reason. Well, it's hard. You can't really put those two people in the same category because one is in a really different generation. They just started singing later. But when you talk about Beyonce, I think she's wonderful, she's great, she's a talented person. But it seemed that she forgot to compliment J-Lo as well. A few years later, Carey spoke to Andy Cohen and doubled down on her comments. Quote, "I don't know her, what am I supposed to say? It looks like it'll take a miracle for these two iconic performers to ever be on good terms." Number 9, Rihanna. There are several celebrities who can't stand Jennifer Lopez, but one of the biggest critics of the iconic singer is Rihanna. These two former best friends had a serious falling out in 2016 for the oldest reason in the book. They were fighting over the same guy. Before the feud began, Rihanna and J-Lo were friendly to each other and had no reason for animosity. But trouble started brewing right after Rihanna and Drake broke up. They had a summer fling that same year, which was pretty casual, but it definitely still counted. Girl code was broken when J-Lo started getting close with Drake almost immediately after. But the feud really became public when Jennifer posted a photo of her and Drake hanging out backstage at her show in Las Vegas with the caption #LoveHim. In fact, the two were even spotted hugging, and fans quickly realized that something very shady was happening. An inside source close to the star said that Riri felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and called Jennifer's behavior desperate. It must have been accurate because in December of 2016, she suddenly unfollowed Lopez on Instagram. Number 8. Gloria Estefan. Cuban-American superstar Gloria Estefan was originally supposed to be performing at the 2020 Super Bowl alongside fellow Latina pop stars J-Lo and Shakira, but after seeing J-Lo's new documentary called Halftime, where the singer went on a rant about having to share the stage with Shakira, Gloria put her comments on blast. She didn't seem to agree that it was the worst idea ever to have the artist share the stage, and explained why Lopez got it wrong on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Quote, "Look, this is the bottom line. You have very little time, like 12 minutes or something, to get things on and off the set. So could you do it with one person? Yes. But I think they wanted to throw a Miami and Latin extravaganza, and they tried to pack it in as much as possible." The Grammy Award winner also confirmed that she chose not to participate for a reason, seeing as J-Lo got so worked up about having two people perform. Quote, "Okay, and imagine what J-Lo would have said if I was the third. I literally would come out, done a shake your booty and out." But she went on to insist that it was their moment and that she didn't want to go on a diet in December anyway. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J-Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J-Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. Rosie Perez. Both Jennifer Lopez and Rosie Perez have served as inspirations to the Latin community for over 2 decades, but they haven't always gotten along. They met back in 1991 during an open casting call for In Living Color. At the time, Perez was the show's choreographer, and Lopez was auditioning to become a member of the dance troupe known as the Fly Girls. Her audition was unsuccessful, but Perez saw a star quality in J-Lo and actually pulled some strings to get her in. But after she was in the group, it became clear that Lopez didn't get along with her fellow dancers. According to Perez, she was labeled as a diva right away. "All of the girls were coming into my office and complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me, all to her advantage." Perez said that at first she didn't believe it, but then J-Lo screamed at her saying, "I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it." What's worse is, after J-Lo left the show and made it big in the music industry, she went on talk shows trashing her former choreographer. Perez also implied that J-Lo ghosted her. Quote, "I called her up, she wouldn't pick up. Frustrated, I left her an irate message on her answering machine. Instead of calling me back and hashing it out like friends do, she went on a major talk show and reiterated my lashing." Number 5. Insensitive Comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that J-Lo was trashing belly dancing. So, a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4, Nicki Minaj. These two have allegedly been feuding since 2012. It all started when Nicki was performing on one particular episode of American Idol at the same time that J.Lo was sitting on the judge panel. In a rather awkward moment, Nicki asked if she could come back on the show as a guest judge and asked J.Lo to scoot over. As a Latina artist hit back, she said, "I don't know if there's room for both of us." It was one of those joking moments that seemed like there was something else behind it, but nevertheless the two seemed to be just joking around, even though Nicki told a reporter backstage, quote, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it." Okay, so now we're jumping to 2015, when fans swear that Nicki shaded J.Lo for performing her song at the American Music Awards. As she was performing a small part of Anaconda, the camera cut to Nicki in the audience looking less than happy with the rendition. The clip showed her emotionless face and made it seem like she didn't approve of the way her song was being used. Number 3, the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined J.Lo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because J.Lo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than J.Lo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2, Cameron Diaz. Throughout the years, Jennifer Lopez has been known to speak negatively about her fellow actors, and it looks like it may have come back to bite her. During an interview in the late 90s, J.Lo explained that Cameron Diaz was just a lucky model who was given opportunities. She did mention that Diaz can be good when directed, but Lopez's past comments about Cameron's career allegedly made things super awkward between them when they both had to buckle down and work together in the 2012 comedy What to Expect When You're Expecting. Several anonymous sources on the set of the film claimed that the two stars did not get along at all during the shoot. In fact, it was reported that Cameron said the singer was a nightmare to work with. Quote, "She even said that Jen should stick to her day job, meaning American Idol and singing." According to The Insider, J.Lo demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and stops working when it suits her, and she had her assistant run over to her with food. This is what allegedly drove Cameron crazy. Another source claimed that the co-stars actively avoided one another while filming, and tensions were thick. Number 1, Ojani Noah. The former couple were married on February 22nd, 1997, and got divorced barely 1 year later, in January of 1998. It was so long ago that you would think Ojani has moved on from the relationship, but apparently he's still holding on to a bit of resentment. In fact, Jennifer's former flame was out to make a buck off their brief marriage by trying to expose revealing videos from their honeymoon. Ojani was even hauled into court after he started planning a tell-all movie based on the revealing home footage called How I Married Jennifer Lopez, the J.Lo and Ojani Noah story. The result? Well, she sued him for a whopping $10 million and demanded a permanent court order blocking her ex from making any videos public. Ojani also threatened to write a tell-all book unless he was paid $5 million by by the singer. His unpublished book alleges that J.Lo had multiple affairs, including one with Mark Anthony during the 11 months that they were married. But a judge was not having it and awarded her $545,000 in damages and quashed the book, ruling that it violated a 2004 deal not to publish details of their relationship. Her team calls the movie an outrageous attempt to make money and received substantial compensation. So it's clear that he's still a little bit bitter.
And at number 10, Armie Hammer. As more and more comes out against Armie Hammer, it's safe to say that his career is basically over. The actor shot to fame in his roles in Call Me By Your Name and The Social Network, but recently multiple women have come forward with disturbing allegations against Hammer, with many expressing that he had scary fetishes and many times he would take things way too far for the women. There were even allegations surfacing that he might be a cannibal. The story got even darker last week when a woman came forward in a video press conference expressing that he forced himself on her for over 4 hours. Apparently during the incident he slammed her head into a wall and whipped her feet with a crop, with her stating that she did not consent to these actions. As a result of the first string of allegations, he stepped away from an upcoming film with Jennifer Lopez called Shotgun Wedding. And now with these most recent allegations, it seems that he could actually face serious jail time. And at number 9, Ralph Fiennes. After backlash began mounting against writer J.K. Rowling, calling her transphobic, many actors in the Harry Potter franchise spoke out against Rowling and in support of trans people. However, actor Ralph Fiennes, who plays Voldemort in the film, stood by her, commenting in an interview, quote, "I can't understand the vitriol directed at her. I can understand the heat of an argument, but I find this age of accusation and the need to condemn irrational. I find the level of hatred that people express about views that differ from theirs and the violence of language towards others disturbing." Here it seems he wasn't supporting her statements, rather just condemning the reaction that came from her statements. However, many fans were saddened that the actor did not understand why many found her statements to be offensive. And at number 8, Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson is getting tons of backlash after she starred in the movie Music, directed by singer Sia. The film is about an autistic girl named Music, whom Hudson plays her older sister, and the film is being called an ableist film. The negative reaction against Hudson got even worse after it was announced that she was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for her performance in the movie. Tina Fey, the host of the 2021 Golden Globes, even made a comment against Hudson in her monologue, saying that Hudson's involvement in the film was the quote most offensive casting since Kate Hudson was a Weight Watchers spokesperson. Despite the backlash, Hudson still appeared on the telecast saying that she loved making the movie. Quote, "As an actress and a singer and a dancer, it's everything you'd want to experience," Hudson said. In at number 7, Maddie Ziegler. Dancer and now actress Maddie Ziegler got massive backlash after she decided to participate in the controversial Sia film called Music. In Music, Ziegler plays a nonverbal autistic teenager who comes under the care of her half-sister, played by Kate Hudson, after the death of her grandmother. When the trailer was released, it got immediate backlash from autism advocates, specifically for the fact that the lead role was not played by an autistic actor. Petitions sprung up on change.org to stop the release of the film, saying the film contributes to harmful stereotypes. Ziegler has not responded to the backlash. Instead, she's chosen to not promote the film whatsoever and rather focus people's attention on her upcoming projects. However, it's going to be difficult for her to recover from such massive backlash. And at number 6, James Corden. James Corden is another actor who is getting backlash after he was nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy for The Prom at the 2021 Golden Globes. His casting in the film was criticized first and foremost because Corden is a straight man who played a gay character in the film, but now he's getting more backlash after the nomination because of his lackluster performance. Many are specifically calling him out for a stereotypical depiction of a gay man, with many others bringing up his past performance in the film Cats as well, saying he should have never acted again after that performance. Halfway at number 5, Lily Collins. Actress Lily Collins got in some backlash for being the lead character in one of the most hated TV shows this year, Emily in Paris. The show that was debuted on Netflix follows a 20-something-year-old Chicago woman who moves to Paris after she receives a surprising job opportunity. But the series was met with tons of criticism, critiquing the way that the city and its people are portrayed, as well as the cliches and stereotypes. And the reviews by both critics and viewers were harsh. On Rotten Tomatoes, the show received a 63% tomato meter scoring and a 59% audience rating, so not good obviously. And a lot of the criticism fell to Collins. She responded to the criticism in an interview with Vogue Arabia, where she said that the criticism is disheartening, but she sees it as a way to improve. She also hopes to evolve the narrative in the second season. Am I the only one? I really don't understand the hate towards the show. I mean, it's not a great show, but like, I don't feel we need to hate on it. It was kind of cute. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And at number 4, Gina Carano. Gina Carano was publicly fired after she shared a controversial Instagram story where she compared being conservative now to being Jewish in the Second World War. The post was an attempt to compare the events of the Second World War to so-called cancel culture. Carano ended up taking the picture down, but the backlash had already begun. She was quickly fired from The Mandalorian and the Star Wars universe, as well as being dropped by her agency, UTA. After the firing, many critiqued the decision and claimed this was proof of an anti-conservative bias in Hollywood. However, given her frequent controversial posts, this seemed to be the last straw, and it seems that her days in Hollywood might be over. And at number 3, Tom Cruise. Late last year, a leaked audio recording showed Tom Cruise screaming at the top of his lungs on the set of the latest Mission Impossible movie. The yelling was because he witnessed a breach in COVID protocol by set members, and he was doing everything in his power to not have another filming delay that would increase production costs. Some of the yelling said, quote, "We are creating thousands of jobs. I don't ever want to see it again. Ever. And if you don't do it, you're fired." The response to the clip has been mixed, with some saying that the yelling was warranted and it was all in the name of safety. However, others felt that yelling to the degree that he was inexcusable and bordered on a toxic and harmful work environment. And at number 2, Sharon Osbourne. The controversial actress and TV host was called out for her stance in support of Piers Morgan after he made some nasty remarks towards Meghan Markle. The viral moment took place on the show The Talk, when Osbourne was confronted about why she chose to support Morgan during his exit from Good Morning Britain. During the exchange, people felt she was insensitive towards her black co-host, Cheryl Underwood. As a result of the touchy moment, the show has gone on hiatus, with Osbourne looking into why she was put on the chopping block, as well as network executives looking into allegations that Osbourne had made insensitive comments toward co-hosts in the past. As well, actress Leah Remini has stated that Osbourne got her fired from that show, and many are thinking this could lead to her departing the show for good. And at number 1, Justin Timberlake. After the Framing Britney Spears documentary came out, Britney's fans started to realize just how horrible Justin had treated her. Some of these clips include him speaking about their intimate relationship on late night talk shows, when that was something that she was keeping hidden at the time, as well as the fact that he used a Britney look-alike in the Crimea River music video after the breakup, which made everyone think that she had cheated. All of this brought up past criticisms of Timberlake for his handling of the infamous Janet Jackson incident, which made her look way worse than him. In response to all the backlash, he posted a lengthy apology to Instagram. However, many felt that the apology was too little too late, and was only made because he. And at number 10, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was a huge movie star in the early 2010s, being known for box office hits like The Mummy and Journey to the Center of the Earth. But out of nowhere, he just stopped being cast in things, and his name started to follow the question, whatever happened to that guy? It seems his entire career changed course when he decided to turn down the lead role in the sequel to Journey of the Center of the Earth, called Journey to the Mysterious Island. The role went to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead, and that movie was even bigger than the first. He not only decided to decline that role, but he also accepted roles in 2 other movies that flopped. After this, his career took a sharp decline, and he was not able to recover from it. However, he is now starring in a movie that will be released soon, and fans are calling it The Renaissance. And at number 9, Michael Richards. The legendary Seinfeld actor got serious backlash after he started calling a member of his audience racial slurs because this person was heckling him during a stand-up routine. This went down in 2006, and in response to the heckling, Richards decided to call him the N-word along with other slurs, and demanding that the African-American customer be thrown out of the club. The backlash was so harsh that he decided to leave the stage before his routine was even over. In 2006, Michaels tried to revitalize his image by apologizing for the comments on The Late Show with David Letterman. However, it seems the apology was not taken well because his career took a nosedive after that appearance. Since this incident, Richards has only appeared in 2 roles, one on Curb Your Enthusiasm and another on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And at number 8, Tila Tequila Nugent. Tila Tequila got her fame from MySpace, and at one point she was the most well-known person on the platform. Since she was an internet celebrity, MTV decided to give her a dating show called A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila in 2007, and she was even cast in a Hollywood movie as well. But her career came to a screeching halt when she decided to post an article to her website describing why she sympathized with who was of course the German leader during the Second World War. In the piece, she claimed he was, quote, not a bad person as they made him out to be. She even posted photos of herself in his memorabilia. Tequila attempted to get her career back on track in 2015 when she appeared as a housemate on the UK celebrity Big Brother, but she was kicked out once people learned of her past. And at number 7, Brian Williams. Brian Williams was one of the top news anchors ever, filling the coveted nightly news spot on NBC. He was even so well respected that he was frequently a guest on Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. But that all changed when it was exposed that Williams was a liar. The lie first started back in 2003, and he basically claimed that he was riding in a military helicopter that was forced to the ground while flying over Iraq. The plane was hit by an RPG and almost crashed. He kept repeating the story over and over for years after, even mentioning it on The Late Show with David Letterman in 2013. But when the world found out this whole story was a lie, everyone was shocked and felt that they couldn't trust him again. He ended up getting a 6-month unpaid suspension from NBC, and his career took a huge hit. He never came back to his role and was demoted to a smaller network after. And at number 6, Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens was known to the world as the lovable character of Pee Wee Herman that was huge in the 1980s. The children's show even won an Emmy, enhancing his celebrity status even further. But things all went south in 1991 when it was revealed that he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater. Because of this, Pee Wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nation, and he was out of the spotlight for the rest of the 90s. He tried to make a comeback years later, but that was halted when even more charges of a sexual nature were brought against him. After this, his public reputation hit new lows, and nobody wanted to be associated with him. But he did come back once again in 2016 to play Pee Wee Herman in the Netflix film Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Surprisingly, it had a good reaction, I assume because people forgot about his past. Halfway number 5, Rob Lowe. So crazy enough, the person that we talked about last, Paul Reubens, is actually connected to Rob Lowe's scandal. Rob Lowe was a prominent actor in the 80s, however when Reubens was being busted by the cops, they discovered an adult tape starring Rob Lowe. After this, his career took a huge hit. Lowe did not end up facing any legal repercussions because the age of consent is 16 in Georgia, but his public reputation did not recover. He even lost a role in the Titanic because of all the scandals. But over the years he was able to get back into the spotlight and was cast in movies like Wayne's World, Tommy Boy, and Parks and Rec. And at number 4, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was one of the biggest stars in the 2000s, starring in the hit show The Amanda Show, along with movies like She's the Man and What a Girl Wants. But sadly, like a lot of other child stars, she struggled to deal with the fame and derailed her career with substance abuse. This caused her to have a complete Twitter meltdown after she was arrested, tweeting all sorts of disturbing things. In her 2012 tweet storm, she told Drake that she wanted to sleep with him in much more colorful language. She also tweeted Rihanna telling her that, quote, Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty enough. She ended the night by lighting a driveway on fire. Because of all this, she was put in a psychiatric facility and her career was put on hold. She has not come back to the spotlight since. And at number 3, Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle became a bona fide celebrity after he became the face of Subway sandwiches and promoted the sandwiches as a tool for his weight loss. His celebrity status even got him roles in movies and spots on late night shows. But this all came to a screeching halt when it was exposed that he had participated in indecent conduct with along with having illegal images. Fogle had been on the FBI's radar since 2007, and they finally arrested him in 2015. He got 15 years in prison, his wife divorced him, and Subway cut all ties with him. But unfortunately, his connection to Subway was too strong for the public to ignore, and the company's reputation took a huge hit because of the scandal. And at number 2, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once one of America's favorite celebrity chefs, making good southern food for television. She was even cast on shows like Top Chef, MasterChef, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and a role in an actual movie called Elizabethtown. But in 2012, her empire was destroyed after it was exposed that she regularly said the N-word. Deen was even sued by the general manager of one of her restaurants, as they claimed that Deen would frequently use the N-word in the workplace. In testimony during the trial, the manager's lawyer asked Deen if she had ever used the N-word before, and she replied, quote, "Yes, of course." After these statements, she was cut from the Food Network, and it seems that she doesn't even really care. She tweeted a photo of her son in blackface only years later. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is no stranger to controversy. It's partly what's made her famous. However, she took one joke way too far and it ended up costing her her career. In May of 2017, Griffin posted a picture of herself holding a decapitated Donald Trump mannequin head. She did this stunt in an attempt to mock Trump, but it kinda sorta looked like a potential threat against the president's life, which is not tolerated in the media. The FBI even investigated her over the picture. Griffin apologized, saying in a statement, quote, "I don't think I'm going to have a career after this, I'm going to be honest, Trump broke me." But months later, she actually retracted her apology and decided the backlash against her was too much. As a result, she was banned from CNN and her stand-up shows were cancelled.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year, after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag, and it included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Nick Cannon. The Wild 'N Out star took a cue from his ex-wife Mariah Carey's famous phrase to throw shade at Jennifer Lopez during his guest appearance on The Wendy Williams Show. While discussing Hollywood crushes during the Hot Topic segment, the 41-year-old first named Carey, his ex-wife and mother to their 2 twins, Moroccan and Monroe. Quote, "Number 1, Mariah, the amazing mother, superstar, singer." He then went on to name Halle Berry and Naomi Campbell as his second and third choices. A producer then suggested J-Lo as an option and he just responded with, "I don't know her." After the audience erupted into laughter, the host added, "That was a joke for the lambs. Shout out to the lambs," as Carey refers to her fans as the Lamely. Cannon made it clear who he supports in the ongoing battle of the divas, and naturally he sided with Carey, so we can't really fault him for that. It's been a bit of a running joke for years that Mariah wasn't kidding and didn't actually know J-Lo personally when she gave that interview, but it was too late to clear the air, as the classic "I don't know her" line has gone down in history as one of the best ways to shade someone. Number 6. The Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere, and it seemed like fans fans loved the pairing, but their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time, but the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J-Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Brandy. Brandy has had a public feud with Jennifer Lopez since 2017, and according to Kiwi Report, she made it clear that she supports Mariah Carey going against J-Lo too. Basically, she posted a photo of herself on Instagram hugging Carey with the hashtag #SheKnowsMe. The caption was super perfect and a great reference to that famous "I don't know her" comment. So the whole thing tells us that Brandy is totally teaming with Mariah. Brandy's post exploded on social media and Lopez fans immediately took offense to it. Mariah saw the backlash and chimed in to Brandy's photo, commenting with a simple "I sure do." But the singer was quick to defend herself from hate comments and edited the caption shortly after posting it with, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I don't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny, can't take this one down. I love this picture, and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable. You know that I am." She totally doubled down on dissing Jennifer and siding with Mariah, adding, quote, "Also, I've met her several times. Like the several seats that should be taken, she does know me." Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J-Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3. Ryan Seacrest. This incident gives Ryan every reason to hate J-Lo because it's pretty bad. Ryan Seacrest worked alongside the singer on American Idol and the two quickly became friends. But all that seemingly changed when the talk show host revealed that he flew down to Miami to celebrate her milestone 50th birthday, only to be denied entry at the door. Ouch. He recalled the whole story on Live with Kelly and Ryan and explained that he flew down from New York for only a few hours because he had to make it back in time for the next morning's show. But when he finally arrived, the doorman told him, "You're not on the list," to which he responded, "Clearly, there's a mistake. She invited me personally." But upon being denied, he checked the list and couldn't find his name. The doorman just asked him to wait, made a quick call, and was able to confirm that Seacrest was indeed on the guest list. But the host went on to say that he was the first person there and no one really got turned up until after he left. It would have certainly been a little embarrassing to say in the least. Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, J-Lo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But, rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodaj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of JLo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful.
And at number 10, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes' career was taking off and he was known for many roles. But his career was derailed not because of his acting or even anything he did in public, but instead because he didn't pay his taxes. You'd assume that he would just pay it back and it would be no big deal, but his tax evasion was so egregious that he was actually sentenced to jail for his crimes. He was found guilty of willfully not filing taxes for 3 years and got 1 year in prison for every year he didn't pay taxes. He was also forced to pay back $17 million to the government. This was what he owed in taxes, along with fines and penalties. His time in jail put his career on hold, and when he came out, no one wanted to hire him. And at number 9, Paz de la Huerta. This actress was going to be huge. Even when she wasn't that well known, she was being covered in the press for her outrageous antics. Like one time when she allegedly went into a sauna while covered in honey. While she was filming the show Boardwalk Empire, she developed a reputation for being a party girl, and this was basically the beginning of the end. TMZ got footage of her incredibly drunk after the Golden Globes. She even slipped and fell at one point. Then she was arrested for assault after she allegedly threw a glass at someone, then punched them in the face. Things got worse when reports came out that she was horrible on set and she would show up to set erratic and unprofessional. She was fired shortly after and her career did not recover from the hit. And at number 8, CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green gained prominence in the 2010s and he was actually a pretty big name in the industry. He even got some acting gigs as a result of his music success, and he started judging on The Voice. But it seems like his big mouth ended up getting him into trouble. In October of 2012, he was accused of SA, a form of assault, and he ended up getting sentenced to probation and community service. But the real issue happened when he spoke about it on Twitter days later. He basically argued that if someone passed out and someone else tries to take advantage of them, it's not violating them because they consented. Obviously, this makes no sense and is just incredibly disturbing. He said in part on Twitter, quote, "If someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent." After this, he was kicked off TV and he was even kicked from festivals that he planned to perform at. He's laid low ever since. And at number 7, Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding should be known as a figure skating legend who was the first American woman to land a triple axel in competition, but she's not. Instead, she's known as the vicious woman who harmed her competition in order to stay on top of the skating world. Her career was primed to reach new heights until someone hired a hitman to break Nancy Kerrigan's leg in hopes of giving Harding a better shot at the national championship. It didn't take long for people to suspect Tonya was behind it, and eventually word got out that her husband, Jeff Gillooly, and his friend were the masterminds behind this plan. Tonya claimed that she had no knowledge of the attack before it happened, but she did admit she learned of it after. She ended up pleading guilty as a conspirator to avoid jail time. She paid a $160,000 fine, was forced to withdraw from the 1994 World Figure Skating Championships, and was banned from figure skating for life. And at number 6, Robert Blake. Robert Blake had a career spanning decades, and he went from child stardom to respected adult actor. But everything changed in his personal and public life when his wife was killed in 2001. The details of the case were incredibly suspicious, and almost immediately Blake was a suspect. night. Bonnie Lee Bakley, his wife, was shot in his car, which was parked around the corner from a restaurant the couple was eating at that night. Apparently, he left his wife in the car while he went back into the restaurant to look for his quote missing gun, and when he came back, she was dead. There wasn't enough evidence to charge Blake with anything until two men came forward shortly after, claiming that Blake offered to pay them to kill his wife. 3 years after his arrest, Blake was acquitted, though a civil court claim later found him guilty of intentionally causing Bakley's death and ordered him to pay $30 million to her kids. But after this spectacle, his career was done. Halfway at number 5, Allan Carr. One terrible performance at the 1989 Oscars not only ruined Allan Carr's career, but also a budding actress by the name of Eileen Bowman. Producer Allan Carr was left in charge of the Oscars, and his worst mistake was opening the show with a performance from Snow White, starring Eileen Bowman, that was a complete disaster. Firstly, it made no sense, and it was very eccentric, and then Rob Lowe joined later to make the whole thing even cringier. The Hollywood Reporter called the number a nightmare, while the New York Times said it had earned a permanent place as the worst Oscar embarrassments. The worst treatment probably went to Bowman, who fled the city and went home to San Diego within hours of the performance. She wasn't able to return, and it's still dubbed as one of Allan Carr's worst decisions. In at number 4, Rebecca Gayheart. Rebecca Gayheart was best known for her roles in 90210 as well as Jawbreaker, and her career looked like it was going to continue to be great until 2001, when she hit and killed a who was crossing the street. It was actually her negligence that led to the death, because other cars around them had stopped for the boy before Gayheart failed to stop and hit him. She settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the boy's family, but the damage to her career was done, and nobody wants to work with someone who was convicted of such a terrible crime. Since then, she's been demoted to small guest starring roles. And at number 3, the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks are known as a legendary country group, and the ladies enjoyed chart-topping success while they were on top, but a wrong political move kicked the women off their pedestal. The lead singer Natalie Maines bashed President George W. Bush during a live concert in 2002. She said, quote, "Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." But bashing the president was not as well accepted as it is now, and the women were promptly met with outrage. Country music genre completely blacklisted them, and their music was even boycotted by a number of radio stations in the aftermath. They tried to come back, but it didn't work. And at number 2, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was huge in the 80s, starring in movies like Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She was particularly known for her unique nose that was unlike the typical noses in Hollywood and really made her stand out. But while her career was taking off, she decided to get a nose job in 1989, assuming that it would help her get more roles. But the issue with this is that when she looked like everyone else, she wasn't unique anymore, and sadly her career shrank alongside her nose. Her nose job was minor, but because her nose was so distinct before, it made her completely unrecognizable. She said about the regrettable procedure, quote, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous." And because nobody recognized her, she stopped landing roles and her career faded fast. And finally, at number 1, Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was primed to be a football star. He was rising up the ranks in football incredibly fast and even signed a $41 million contract with the New England Patriots. But everything in his life changed when he was accused of killing a man. He ended up being found guilty of this murder and sentenced to life in prison. While in prison, he had apparently been linked to other deaths, and it's widely believed that he's killed 4 people. But the story with Aaron got even more tragic because he took his own life while in prison in 2017. Many believe this happened because of the shame the entire debacle caused him and his family. Starting off our list at number 10, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was known for his roles in movies like the Lethal Weapon series, the Mad Max series, and Braveheart. But now he's mostly known for being anti-Semitic. In 2009, Gibson was arrested for driving under the influence with an open container of alcohol in his vehicle. The officer refused to let Gibson drive himself home, obviously, and then Gibson totally lost it, ranting about Jewish people and saying that they're responsible for all the wars in the world. Gibson even asked the officer if he was Jewish. That wasn't the last time he was caught using slurs either. He was also caught using the N-word on a call in 2010. After this, his reputation took a massive hit. And at number 9, Megan Fox. Megan Fox's career was destroyed after one bad interview. She was primed to be one of the biggest actresses ever, as the leading lady of the Transformers franchise. But in one interview, she completely trashed the film's director, Michael Bay, and was cut from the movie as a result. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland magazine, she was asked about working with Bay, to which which she responded that he wants to be like Napoleon and wants to have an infamous madman reputation. But then she said in real life he's actually incredibly awkward with no social skills at all. Yikes. Steven Spielberg reportedly did not take kindly to her comments, and she was then kicked out of the third and fourth film. After that, her career completely diminished, and she only just started to get back into the spotlight in 2020. In at number 8, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was once the most respected golfer in the world, as well as being one of the highest paid athletes. But that all came to a halt when his professional image was shattered after it was exposed that he had cheated on his wife with countless women. It all came to a head in 2009 when he crashed his Escalade into a tree in his own front yard, with many claiming that his ex-wife kicking him out caused the crash. After he confessed to all the cheating, his image was ruined and all of his sponsors dropped him. After years of laying low, he came back strong, winning the 2019 Masters, although he is still tied to his party boy image. His career took another hit recently when he veered off a hill and his car rolled down the hill, causing many injuries that might even mean the end of his career. In at number 7, Kanye West. It's absolutely shocking that Kanye West still has a career despite all his scandals. Just some of his biggest scandals have been stealing the mic from Taylor Swift, being a public Trump supporter, and admitting his wife Kim almost terminated her pregnancy with North, along with starting feuds with most of the biggest rappers and singers. But even after all that and a failed presidential run, Kanye still has some of the most loyal fans ever. Some even think that his resiliency might just be in part to PR strategy, as Kanye only really seems to get into scandals when he has an album to promote. In at number 6, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, of course, is one of the most talented singers ever, and even though she's gotten into some scandals for shading other celebrities in the past, the thing that really hurt her career was bad lip syncing. And in 2017, while she was performing live at the New Year's Eve show, millions watched as her performance became a complete train wreck. While she was performing the song Emotions, it seemed that her inner ear headphones stopped working and she froze, not really knowing what to do. After some terrible lip syncing, where it was clear her voice did not match up, she walked off stage mid-performance. After the fact, she claimed that she was set up by producers, but it was hard to believe and it looked like she was just too young to be performing. Halfway number 5, Ashley Simpson. This is one of those accidents that sadly ruined her career. While Ashley was on SNL to perform, her first song went off without an issue, but her second song caused an infamous moment that the internet will never forget. When the music started, the vocals for the track she sang before started to play, making it incredibly clear she was lip syncing. Nobody knew what to do, so her band just kept playing while she danced around the stage and did not sing a word. In the days that followed, the singer was attacked in the media for lip syncing, which is especially bad on an all-live show. After the incident, she tried to set the record straight and explain why she lip synced. She told MTV that she lost her voice because of acid reflux, and instead of canceling the appearance, she thought it was better for everyone if she just faked it. But her career did not recover after that. In at number 4, Ryan Lochte. Ryan Lochte is an Olympic swimmer, and he was known to the world as a heartthrob. He went into the 2012 London Olympics with $2.3 million worth of endorsements. He was even more famous coming into the 2016 Rio Olympics, so his sponsorship deals were presumably even more. But when he didn't deliver in the Olympic Games, it seemed he took his anger out in the form of a lie. The incident was called Lochtegate, wherein he claimed that he and his teammates were robbed and their lives were threatened by some thugs in Rio. After many went out looking for the criminals, he was forced to reveal that he made the whole thing up. In the end, he lost several of his sponsorships, including Speedo and Ralph Lauren, as well as his reputation. He was also banned from swimming for 10 months. In at number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is known for throwing it down in the ring, wrestling his opponents, and putting on a great show. But after an adult tape starring Hogan was leaked, his career was never the same. You'd think it was because of the scandalous nature of the tape, but it wasn't that at all. It was because on this intimate tape, you can hear Hogan saying the N-word multiple times. To make matters worse, many of these racist comments were directed at his daughter Brooke's boyfriend at the time, who is black. He even said on the tape that he would feel better about her dating a black man if he was some sort of basketball player worth millions of dollars. Hogan sued the website Gawker after the fact for leaking the video, and Hogan got a massive payout from the lawsuit because his career was essentially over after that leak. He not only was removed from all WWE events, but he was even taken out of their Hall of Fame. And at number 2, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried has an unforgettable voice that has made him a household name. After starring in many roles in Hollywood, he made his money by being the voice of the Aflac Duck. Affleck is an insurance company and the duck has been their mascot since 1999. But after he posted an insensitive tweet about a tsunami that killed thousands of people in Japan, he was promptly fired. The tweet said, quote, "Japan is really advanced. They don't go to the beach comes to them." The tweet was made even worse by the fact that 75% of the business Affleck does is in Japan, and he offended their largest customer base. And finally, number 1, Miles Teller. Miles Teller burst onto the Hollywood scene in Damien Chazelle's 2014 directorial debut, Whiplash, which got plenty of critical acclaim. He even got a role in the Divergent series, which got him a lot more exposure. But his career really hit a snag because of a string of really bad interviews. In a 2014 interview with the New York Times, Teller said, quote, "I feel like a lot of actors of my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." He even trashed John Cusack after a reporter compared the two of them. Teller said they are similar in some ways, but quote, "I don't want his career." In an interview later in 2015, he came off incredibly cocky. The author of the piece even wrote about Teller, quote, "So yeah, he's kind of a dick." He started to get cast in things again, but public perception of him is still very bad.